Welcome to Inspired Parenting Presents Let's Talk Parenting. We have this parenting chat every Saturday, and today we're going to talk about how to improve memory for studying. So this is particularly for student who wants to score. Okay, nevertheless, these memory techniques can be used, even for a student who don't score, but they still want to, get across the grades and, generally making your memory better. Okay, so there'll be number of factors we will talk about. Okay, six factors mainly. Now, this particular session is about these factors that affect memory. Okay, later on we are going to look at certain tools. That will be the next session where we'll look at memory enhancing tools. And after that, we will also look at a special technique, okay, with which one can go up to 90-95% score for competitive exams, and these techniques are very popular these days, so we'll talk about them later on. Today we will talk about what all things we can do so that whatever we are learning that stick in our head, stays there for a longer period of time. So first is environment. Now, what kind of environment one needs to study in? Typically, we consider study room has to be there, with the table and proper setup. A child can go there and study. Now, this is good for smaller children who get distracted very easily. As in, I would say if you are less than fifth standard, I would say, yeah, less than 7-8 year old, then you might want to give them a study table and a room where they are focused. It's easy for them to focus. Yeah. But if you know a child who is okay with studying, it's not very easily going to get distracted, then I would suggest give them little challenging environment, like, fine, they will do their study in the room, but time to time get them out of the room, move them to some other room and let them study there. Best would be take them out there and let them study there. Okay, now you might start thinking, why would we get them into a more distractive or environment where they can get easily distracted? And I'll come to that, towards the end, because most of the things that you would see that I will be talking about is to giving them more challenging environment for learning. Okay, like music, I would say, always allow them to learn with some kind of a background music. Okay, now again, I would say, um, use the music according to the distraction level of a child. So some children can get very easily distracted with music, and distracting as in completely distracted. Okay, so if you find a child who's singing and still doing her studies, that's good. That's, allow that. But if you see a child who leaves the study and start singing, then that's like complete distraction. So you have to see what kind of music can help here. So if children who can easily get distracted, you get them to learn in some instrumental music or classical music, where the music is less of a distraction. But if a child is already into studies, and some children, they don't mind, they are sincere about the studies, they want to complete things, or they are good at a particular subject, then you can actually have a music that is with lyrics and that will get them to sing while they are learning. Okay, so have that. I'll tell you why towards the end, why you can have this kind of challenging environment for studying. Okay, now here's another thing: spacing. So if a child studies for, let's say, 1 hour, okay, the recommendation here is for better memory that you tell the child to study for 30 minutes now, and 30 minutes, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. Okay, split that study time. If his studies, for higher standards, typically students study for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours in a day, or maybe more. So chunk those. Maybe 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, 1 hour in the evening, 1 hour in the night. So get them to space their study. Okay, so this is another recommendation. Again, like I said, I'll tell you why. The reason, it's a very beautiful thing that's been discovered in last 10 years in cognitive science. Okay, now here's another thing one can do. Get them to study same subject or same topic or same lesson in different environments. So morning they are studying in living room, okay, for half an hour, and then evening the same subject they can do in their study room, or or outdoors. So with different environment, okay, what happens here is our brain starts associating the same topic with different sensory things that it is receiving. So we are if we are sitting here in the living room, okay, there's a light condition is different, the things that we see are different, the sound that we hear is different. Okay, people around here are doing different things. Yeah, and right now there's a different music playing. So when we are learning a topic, our brain is registering that topic, but at the same time, it is also registering the environment in which we are learning. And this environment gets kind of neurologically connected with this subject. The moment in the evening we change that environment with the same subject, okay, or same topic, now our brain is basically associating those different things. Okay, the more connection with any topic, okay, the stronger that memory will be. Yeah, so this environment is getting associated with that memory. Evening, a different environment, different music is getting associated with that music, with the same topic. That means there are more connections happening in our brain for the same topic. Hence that memory or that topic is better for recalling, better memorized in our memory. Okay, so so you have to do the combination of spacing as well as environment. Now interleave. What what typically we tell student is, you're doing something good rhythm, continue doing that, or at a time do only one topic. As in, if you're doing maths, just complete your maths and then go to the next subject. The recommendation is, if a child wants to learn, say, 20 minutes of English and 40 minutes of maths practice, uh, we would say 10 minutes of English you start with, then do 20 minutes of maths practice, then do 10 minutes of English again, and 20 minutes of maths practice later on. So interleave the subject or topics of your learning. Now, I would again say why we should do this is, when you start a subject, okay, your brain is trying to recall things. Yeah, and when we recall things, we strengthen our memory. There's a memory change that happens when we try to recall things. Okay, so you study something now and you leave it and then pick up that thing in after 20-30 minutes. Okay, your brain will spend some time, initial time, to recalling what you did earlier, and that's when you try to recall that, there's a change in the brain that happens. Okay, uh, up against when you review. So I'll come to that in a bit. But what happens is interleaving basically forces your brain to spend more time in recalling, and that is why the memory becomes stronger. Next is avoid cramming. Okay, especially before the exams. And this is the practice which is prevailed, at most of the places where you encourage children to review the things one day before, especially, or even right up till the last moment of the exam, and then go and appear for an exam. And this may be effective for that exam at that moment, but for the long term memory, this is counterproductive. Counterproductive as in it is actually opposite of what it is supposed to achieve. Now what happens, there's a weighting effect, that's been observed, that when waiters, they are attending 10 tables, yeah, they would know each of the table, what they order first, what they order next, what they order next, and there could be 10, 15 items at a time, and they, for every table, they would remember precisely what they ordered, how much they ordered, quantity and everything. So that's memory, because waiter is telling himself that he is supposed to memorize this. Okay, this is what happens when you do cramming. Your brain is telling you that this is important and you have to remember this, okay, only for some time. And that's the whole point. We are telling our brain that you just have to remember only till this exam is over. If you ask waiter, okay, after the customer has paid his bill, what was his order, and he will not be able to tell you. Okay, so this study has been done for a lot of waiters, and this is the effect that we see, that waiter cannot tell once the bill is paid. Waiter cannot tell what was the order. This is because, again, the moment a waiter is telling himself, once the bill is paid, this is not important. So students are telling themselves, this is important till I finish the exam. After I finish the exam, this is not important. Okay? And that's where cramming backfires. Okay, so a student may remember something for that moment, for that period of exam, but after that they will basically not want to even recall, uh, because the signal that they have given to their brain was that is not important after the exams. Okay, so this is a thing to remember, that cramming actually is counterproductive. Next is recall. Okay, recall is better than review. Elaboration is better than recall. The way most of the students study their subject is they open the book, they start with whatever few chapters they want to review, and they just start reading question and answer, question and answer, question and answer. When we review, what happens is our brain gives signal saying, oh, I already know this. But that signal comes after we have read the answer, and not, after we have read the question. After we have read the question, okay, we immediately go and read the answer. And the moment we are reading the answer, brain gives a signal saying, oh, I already know this. Now, when the moment brain gives that signal that I know, okay, the brain gives less importance to that answer, and the memory is not stronger. Okay, instead of that, what one needs to do is they just have to read the question and maybe write it. Write would be the best thing to do, but at least recall the answer. Okay, the more time a child spends on the recall, and this is very uncomfortable for most of us. If we try to recall, we are not able to recall that easily, and we get very uncomfortable. And that's why most of the students don't do this, because it's about putting yourself in a very awkward situation where you face that you actually don't remember. You thought you remember, but you don't remember, and nobody wants to face that. And that's why a lot of children don't want to do recalling. Okay, and this is where maybe parents would like to help them. Yeah, when we hold them, a lot of people would want to cheat. They think they don't want to get into a discount position. They will immediately start reviewing things instead of recalling. Okay, but what happens when we recall is there's actually brain change that happens. Okay, obviously whatever we are able to recall, that gets strengthened in our brain. Okay, and whatever we are not able to recall gets registered in our brain that I actually at the moment don't remember this. Okay, and this is the turning point for a student. Okay, the moment his brain is telling him that at the moment I don't remember this, and then when he goes for reviewing that particular thing, okay, then there's a special attention given to that particular thing which the child was not able to recall, and that gets stronger in his memory again, because brain giving signal that this is important, I have to pay attention, I was not able to recall. Okay, that's where recalling is very important. And for uh, most of the US exams, the children have changed their learning style to recalling instead of reviewing. Okay, and this is where, when we were learning, a lot of stress was given on solving paper, okay, past papers. And the children who solved past papers, they had better memory than the children who spend time just reviewing things. Okay, so this is my personal experience. I can recall now. Elaboration. Okay, we can actually suggest a child to apply the learning. If you're a teacher and you are working with students, this is applying any learning is basically doing the recall and taking it even further. Okay, making it more creative, making more association, okay, of different things for that topic in our brain. And that's why applying your learning, okay, is kind of a part of elaboration. Maybe it's not just in pen with pen and paper, but in practice. Okay, so encourage that. That becomes elaboration. But nevertheless, get the child to explain the topic in their own words. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Instead of just asking them meaning of the word, allow them to make words out of or make sentences of that word. Okay, so this is where they are now started applying it. They have started elaborating that particular word. So instead of just memorizing meanings, allow them to explain that word in their words, or explain that meaning of that word in their words. Okay, if you go ahead and allow them to write maybe few lines about that topic or that word, then it will become even better elaboration, and that's even better for memory. Okay, so the more applying and elaboration the child does on a particular topic, and this is not just for words, okay, or meanings, you can do it for any topic. Okay, the more they do that, more better the memory, right? So that's how you a child remembers. These are the factors that help child remember. Now let me go back now to all the factors and explain what is happening with whatever suggestions we've given you. Okay, environment. We are now suggesting that create little challenging environment. Yeah, so that is because, or we are saying interleaving. Okay, the way we interleave subject, make it challenging. Yeah, recall, make it challenging. Spacing, basically do some topic now and some topic later. What happens is when you are doing a topic for a period of time, it starts getting easy for you. Okay, when you stop and then pick up the same topic again, you're actually creating little more challenge for that topic. Okay, then repetition. Okay, so what in this whole phenomena, if you observe, you would realize that we are creating more challenging environment for a student to memorize. The more challenging environment for for memorizing things, okay, the memory is better. Yeah, and this is where we have to understand the concept of the concept is desirable difficulty. Now, this may not be true, or the level of challenge that we are throwing at a child, may not be the same for all students. So we have to assess that what is the level of challenge a child can handle, and that level of challenge a child can handle is called desirable difficulty for that child. So we have to strike that balance, that where the challenge is is basically can be coped up by a child. If the challenge becomes more distraction, then that you have to taper down your challenges. The example of music we saw. Okay, you have to see what kind of music is not going to get distraction, not going to become a distraction for a child, and allow that. Okay, so allow the level of challenge a child can handle while memorizing or studying. Okay, so you can use all these um, factors. Okay, now let's quickly understand what should be the repetition level. Okay, or how often one can learn a subject, or a review a subject, or a recall a subject. Okay, for that we have to understand how the learning and forgetting curves works. Okay, so if you see the green is a learning curve, and red is a forgetting curve. So we have to focus on forgetting curve right now. The red, first day when a child understands the subject, let's say, he remembers it 100%. Okay, we start with that assumption right now. Next day, his memory for that subject will go down almost to 50%. Okay, next week it will almost go to 75%. Yeah, and next month he will be all maybe around 20%, 10%, whatever. Yeah, and after a year it'll go down to just 10% or something. But now, what happens when he looks at the same topic again next day? Okay, next day when he looks at the same topic, his memory will again go back to 100. Okay, from 50 it will go back to 100, but when it comes down next time, okay, it is not going to be that steep. Okay, or even for after a week his memory will still be around 75%. So just because he did the review of that subject next day, yeah, the week after a week, instead of going down to 25%, he is still at 75%. Okay, the topic he will remember after that week, after a week, will still be 25%. That's 50% extra memory that he got just because he has reviewed that subject. Yeah, and if the child reviews that subject again after a week, okay, he will be able to remember that topic almost up to 80% at the end of the month. That's this point here. Okay, so our memory forgetting curve starts getting flattened. Okay, depending on how many repetitions we have of our reviewing or revision or recall. Okay, so that's basically, of course, I'm giving you these numbers. Those are typical numbers, and for different children it could be different scenario. Okay, but the pattern would be the same. The curves would be, very similar. Next, based on this, how we can use this information, that's the key. Okay, so here's what I suggest. Yeah, first day when a child learns a particular topic, okay, um, on day one, or sorry, so you can see, you can assume that he remembers everything, but the next day, allow the child to go through the same subject for at least 10 minutes. Yeah, day one you learn, the next day allow the child to go through that with 10 minutes. Okay, and then after a week, again review the same topic at least for 5 minutes. Yeah, and you can use any of these techniques, like applying it, reviewing it, recalling it, elaborating it. The kind of technique you use will help child remember better. Okay, after a month, okay, at least spend few minutes or 2 3 minutes on the same subject, okay, to strengthen the memory. So this is the kind of frequency and pattern you can use for reviewing or repeating a particular topic. Okay, this will also help memorizing things better. Yeah. So here are some sorry, some books I've gone through. Wonderful books. Okay. One is How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport. Make It Stick, Peter Brown, and How We Learn is Benedict Carey. So I highly recommend these books if you are keen on understanding how we learn and how we memorize and formulate a strategy for your children. Go through them. You'll get a lot of good ideas. What I've done is kind of summarize everything, the key topics from these books into this webinar. But you're free to explore more. What we would do next is in coming sessions is we'll learn about memorizing tools. Okay, as in when a child goes through a subject, how he can make notes of it. Okay, what kind of notes he can make where his memory is even better. Yeah, like mnemonics, uh, graphic organizer, and flashcards. Okay, at the end of this, I would give you a strategy of learning where one can score, I would say, 95% easily, with very effective learning without spending much time on studying, but at the same time getting very high or high marks or very good results. Okay, so stay tuned for that. It will be a chart and a flashcard combined technique I'd like to share with you. Okay, so that's it from me for today. Any questions on what we've seen so far? No questions? Okay, with that, then I will go on to 2 minutes tip of parenting tip of the day. Okay, how to communicate an important thing to a child. Now, typically, what I've seen many times, parents they tell children things. When we are basically busy in our day, we are working, but we tell children a number of things, and then we realize that they have not paid attention. They have simply forgotten about it. They just said yes, yes, and they didn't do anything about it. Okay, now this can happen throughout the day. We tell so many things, but if you think that something is very important, now here's the thing you need to do to make sure that whatever you are telling them is going across. Okay, so first is get in their line of sight. That means go in front of them. If possible, go to their level. Okay, make sure they are looking at you. Yeah, so that basically tells the child that, oh, something important is coming. And remember, we in today's webinar we saw that what child gives the signal to the brain in terms of the importance of a topic. Okay, it basically affects the memory. Yeah, if the child tells his brain that this is important, then the child is likely to remember that. Hence, when you go in front, go to their level, look in their eyes, child is thinking, oh, something is important. Okay, and then you tell the child whatever you want to tell them. Okay, next is you can also get them to repeat them in their words, whatever you're told them. Okay, so if they can elaborate, okay, and tell you in their words what they understood, number one, you are sure that yes, they have understood it, and number two, it helps memory. Yeah, so if you want them to tell them, communicate something very important and remember that, do this. Go down to their level, in front of them, look in their eyes, make sure they are paying attention, and explain them. Then tell them, okay, tell me what you understood, and get them to tell them what they have understood. And this is how they will be able to pay attention, understand the importance of it, and remember it for a longer time. Okay, so that's it from me for today. We'll meet next week on the topic on memorizing tools. Okay, thank you very much for joining. Till then, happy parenting.